Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope you guys are up and feeling well this morning. It's Friday, so hopefully you are. I know I am as we head into another weekend, the last weekend of July, and then we head on into August. So I got you an update for your last Friday of July and what's going to happen weather-wise across most of the country. Big flooding threat for a lot of areas. We're not waking up to any catastrophic or devastating flooding. From what I've checked into yesterday morning, I did not realize what was going on, the severity of it in eastern Kentucky at the time. But right now, not any rain in that area, but there could be some rain a little bit later, so we'll talk about that. But there's a lot of areas that are seeing a lot of beneficial rain right now, like areas in and around the Memphis, Tennessee area. We'll talk about that. But let's make sure we don't get it too fast, because if you hadn't had rain in a long time and suddenly you get it all at once, then it causes flash flooding issues. But we're going to talk about that, a severe weather threat in areas of the mid-Atlantic, and break down what's going on with the heat. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Appreciate the support. It's been a very slow month, but we're just moving on through it. Hurricane season will likely start kicking off towards probably the second half of August. So weather does not stay calm forever, and it's been pretty active, really, if you think about it, for certain areas. Just the big flooding risk is definitely not something we ever really expect from just a stalled frontal boundary. But anyways, if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and others can do it also. We can glorify God doing it at the same time. So water vapor loop. Upper trough is creating some fantastic conditions this morning. If you like, waking up to the 50s and late July in areas of almost the entire state of Minnesota, Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan. Temperatures are in the 50s. I'm sure there's some isolated areas in the 40s, but just fantastic conditions. We'll talk about that here in a second with this upper trough overhead. But down here with the stalled frontal boundary that's finally knocked this ridge down, therefore we're not going to have as much intense heat. In fact, I think certain areas of the Carolinas might be hotter than Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas today, but listen, it's raining like crazy in and around the Memphis area as of 6:46 Eastern time, so 5:46 y'all's time out here in Memphis and surrounding regions. But you guys are getting a lot of rain. I was hearing, a few weeks ago that Memphis hadn't seen a lot of rain lately. I don't know if y'all made up for lost ground over the last week or so, but you're getting a lot of rain this morning, and maybe a little too quick. We'll take a look at the radar here in a second, but I'm expecting a lot of rain over here in the panhandle of Oklahoma today, too. And then you're going to have rounds of storms that move through the Carolinas and areas of the southern Appalachian Mountains and surrounding regions. Let's talk about the Storm Prediction Center. The only area we truly need to watch out for maybe a heightened area of severe weather is right here in this slight region. This includes Richmond, Virginia Beach, Washington, D.C., and the southern half of the Delmarva area, including areas of Delaware and places like this. So we're expecting a damaging wind threat, not so much a tornado threat, but listen, there is a favorable, I think it's honestly the geographical region that enhances these storms right after they get off the kind of the eastern slopes of the Appalachian Mountains here in western Virginia. And sometimes, in and around Roanoke, the Charlottesville, you get some wild-looking storms and have a little bit of spin to them. Sometimes you get some supercells to pop off here. You guys know about this in Virginia. There's a couple storm chasers in the Virginia area that really are on these storms often. But it could be kind of a scenario like that today. But I'm not really expecting a tornado threat, but maybe an isolated spin up. You can't totally disregard the chance there. But wind threat is the biggest threat here. Damaging winds. Hail threat not as big and not really even hardly existent today, but I'm sure a storm or two will produce large hail. But here's the excessive rainfall outlook for today. You got the slight risk. That is at least a 15% risk of seeing flash flood guidance being met. And, you're going to have a big flooding risk right here. That is a moderate risk, at least a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being met. And I'll talk about why. There's certain areas that can see anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain here in the panhandle of Oklahoma, Texas, and then surrounding sections of each state. And then you're going to have the moderate risk of flash flood occurring along the southern Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, areas of Virginia. So we got to watch out for today. How far north does this rain form, and how far south does it form? We already have, I think it's going to be probably a flooding risk that kind of arises here in the next hour or so in and around the Memphis area in western Tennessee. Here, in that area we need to watch out for. Heat advisories up for these orange counties, but you notice not near as widespread. It's going to be a very hot day in the Eastern Carolinas, and just even not in the Eastern Carolinas, all throughout the Carolinas, Georgia, very, very warm weather, hot weather. You got flood watches up for the dark green, flood warnings up for the light green. This continues for these areas that are certainly favorable for flooding due to the fact y'all have seen so much rain. And then you got the flood watches up for these regions where y'all are expecting a lot of heavy rain today. In fact, already seeing a little bit out there this morning. But we'll look at this severe weather threat across Virginia and Maryland and Delaware. So probably sometime this morning, you'll start to get some storms that fire up along the southern apps here, and then they'll start to make it on the eastern side of the mountains. How much as these storms intensify? I think by the time we get into about 3 to 5 p.m., we'll have some pretty big storms, and they'll be pretty widespread. And these could also be down here in North Carolina also. North Carolina, especially Greensboro, surrounding regions, basically the triad, the foothills of North Carolina has seen a lot of storm action over the last week. You guys have been close enough to the stalled boundary where you've had tons of storms every afternoon and evening. So that'll be the case again today and throughout the next couple days. And then eventually it'll lessen somewhat, and I think the storm threat will kind of drift more into South Carolina, but still be in North Carolina. But anyways, check out a little bit later today. I'm talking about maybe 4 or 5 p.m. You could have a storm or two around Richmond, and these could be intense. These will drift into potentially into areas of the coastal regions of Maryland, and then eventually maybe into Delaware. And these could be strong. Figuring out exactly where they are, that's going to be pretty difficult. But you look at this little booger right here, got a little hook to it. It's just watch out for it. Not saying we're going to have a tornadic cell or anything like that, but around dinner time it can be quite active across the central to eastern parts of Virginia, and the mid-Atlantic regions are right here. Washington, D.C., maybe a strong storm or two also. I think it'll quiet back down as we get into later in the evening hours. So we'll watch out for that. Looking at the southern Appalachian Mountains, we can just look at the HRRR model. And guys, I can tell you both models are not performing well as far as what's happening right now. But, the HRRR model and the NAM are really the only two, unless you look at in-house models from these independent local weather stations. But really, these are the only two models we can really look at. And in general, you see that widespread showers and storms that form in and around the, Knoxville over here to Boone, western areas of Virginia, southwest Virginia. But you notice in the areas that got the big catastrophic flooding this time yesterday morning, not a lot of storm action up that way. Maybe an isolated downpour per the HRRR model, but in general, not a lot. Now up here in West Virginia, maybe some scattered showers and storms, but if you take the HRRR model for what's going to happen, it's not that big of a deal. But you definitely got showers and storms down here in Tennessee, where I think they will see the most rain today, and maybe a storm or two sneaks down into North Georgia and South Carolina late tonight. We'll see if that actually verifies. But ongoing waves of showers and storms in Tennessee. So this is about how much rain could be expected today. An inch of rain quickly would not be good for areas of western Kentucky, southwest Virginia, West Virginia, especially eastern Kentucky. So if you're going to get an inch of rain today anywhere in eastern Kentucky, let's hope that it at least happens in a several-hour period, not all at once. That's not what you want. That's how we get the flash flooding issues. But definitely a lot of rain across most of Tennessee. Anywhere from certain areas might not get anything, but then certain areas might get over an inch of rain. So we'll see how that plays out today for sure. And then we'll move a little bit west. Listen, what's happening right now in Memphis? You guys are getting a lot of rain. This is outflow boundary driven, meaning an outflow boundary sagging south and then developing more storms to its north. And, you guys around Memphis are waking up to a pretty rocky morning, as you're opening your eyes, waking up, it's probably pouring down rain in and around the area. And then we just got to watch. For example, these storms form from this outflow boundary. But when they form, they don't sag south with the outflow boundary. They kind of move, in general, west to east. So, you look at areas like Jackson, Tennessee, Brownsville, Tennessee, and Covington, Tennessee. These are going to continue to kind of move over the same areas, and then that's how you get the flash flooding. They kind of train over the same regions, And where you see the yellows, the oranges, and especially reds, that is very heavy rain in this pocket of showers and storms right here. And this is heading towards Nashville. So, already some showers and some scattered downpours in and around the Nashville area this morning. But watch out. Watch out for this little area of storms. And let me tell you, the HRRR model is not picking up on it well. But between now and tomorrow morning, heavy rain has kind of already fell in northern Arkansas, but more rain could form a little bit later. You guys are feasting famine out here. You went a couple month period where you didn't see a lot of rain after leaving a couple month period where you were seeing a ton of rain back in the spring. It got very dry, and now you're making up for lost ground and picking up a lot of rain. So everything that was drying out in Arkansas and things like that, it's probably starting to green up now. But anyways, a lot of rain in Arkansas and surrounding states today. Certainly expected. The HRRR model. Let's just take a look at each region now. And, you see a little bit later this afternoon some showers and storms in the Piedmont and the Triad of North Carolina. And we'll watch this little region right here. I think this will be more filled in than what the HRRR model is showing. But, we either look at this or the NAM, and honestly, both of them kind of look the same with the evolution of what could potentially happen today. But watch out, Little Rock, a little bit later this evening. Some storms move through, and these eventually can make their way into the rest of the state. And I think they'll be outflow boundary driven. And I think maybe later this evening, Mississippi into maybe northern Louisiana can get some storm action. You guys need to rain down there. Hot conditions, very hot, Dog days of summer, I say it every time. Very hot even into Florida. And this is really just due to the fact that you're not seeing your normal pop-up showers and storms that cool you guys off in the evenings and kick up a nice sea breeze. You won't see that much. You'll see a few, but not near as widespread. So therefore, you're going to warm up to your potential, which is going to be the mid-90s. The mid-90s in Florida is awful. Everybody talks about Florida is so hot. It's so hot. Really what makes Florida so hot is the humidity. The humidity is absolutely awful with dew points, in the upper 70s, the low 80s almost all throughout summer. But the actual air temperature is not as hot to say as maybe South Georgia or South Carolina or even the coastal plains of North Carolina. The air temperature only gets up to the upper 80s, low 90s. But the dew points, the humidity makes it feel like well into 100 by the time it's even lunchtime. But anyways, very high conditions. I would not be surprised if someone squeaks out a 100-degree reading somewhere in eastern North Carolina or South Carolina. But brutal heat. My poor little ginkgo tree out in my front yard is it's a young tree. It's only 4 years old, and it is not liking this heat. It doesn't matter how much I water it. It hates the heat. This summer, which it's been the hottest summer since I planted it, is really, it's just not liking it. It's definitely the heat stress is getting to it. But anyways, we continue to the northeast, pretty quiet, maybe some showers drifting to New York City and surrounding areas a little bit later today. But we'll watch out for these storms in southern PA, points south. The more south you get from southern PA into Maryland, the more stormy, the higher chance of storms you got. But other than that, pretty quiet, not a whole lot going on. Temperatures will be pretty warm in southern New England, but once you get out of southern New England, 70s and 80s. But, pretty warm, 80s for the down east areas in Maine, and just 70s and 80s for areas points. Basically, the further west you get, the more comfortable it gets. But still, just typical summer humidity and summer heat. South Central U.S. will be an interesting feature today as the ridge is flattened out. You're already dealing with showers and storms in Oklahoma. It was very dry in Oklahoma. Now you're seeing a lot of rain. I think that's why the flash flood risk is high. But some of these storms might sneak into Texas. You need the rain down in Dallas, Texas, points south and southwest. But we'll see how far south it gets. But the HRRR model likes the idea of a lot of showers and storms riding the Texas-Oklahoma state line right into here. But you're going to get a lot of rain up in here in the panhandle of Oklahoma. And the thing that worries me is I think the heaviest rain might happen overnight in these regions. Luckily, not a lot of big cities out here. Amarillo is a bigger town, bigger city. But I think a lot of rain can fall overnight in this region right here. Then you just got the, typical monsoon flow out here. You're going to get flash flooding going on in New Mexico and potentially Arizona. But a lot of rain can fall in this region of the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. As much as 2 to 4 inches of rain, maybe 5 inches of rain. This is between now and the next 24 hours. So please be careful if you're out there in the western sections of Oklahoma. A lot of rain can fall fast. So hot temperatures expected. Dallas might hit 100 again today, and just hot across Texas. Very warm, but nothing compared to what y'all have seen. I know this is still very hot, but you notice cool temperatures are not that far away now. We're 100-degree temperatures plus was stretching well all the way up into Nebraska at one point, a week ago from today. Let me tell you, the north central U.S. is definitely the big breadwinner as far as temperatures today and right now. No real weather expected today. I mean, it is probably going to be one of the most quiet days in a while up here in the north central U.S. And I'll start this off by showing this. This is temperatures right around right now. 50s, there's some 40s out there. You got 50s all the way into northern Missouri, all the way into the central and northern half of Illinois. Even a few 50s probably all the way into northern section of Nebraska, where y'all are actually absolutely roasting earlier this week. But you guys will warm up pretty quick today, but not that much. I mean, a typical summer day, maybe a few degrees below average. A nice day. Just, UP and Michigan, beautiful. Wisconsin, Minnesota, 80s, 70s will dominate the weather pattern out here. The further west you go, the warmer it gets. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have an awesome Friday. God bless all y'all. And I might make a video tonight, might not. Just depends on if there's anything to talk about. But have a great day.